This is Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Telecomms Reseller. And we have with us today Jordi Torres of Verbio. Jordi, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Doug, for having me. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm awfully glad you were able to come by and talk to our audience about a topic that impacts everybody, whether they're a vendor, whether they're an end user, and maybe just as a person living at this time. Because I think almost everyone's had the experience of contacting a contact center and not being able to contact either a person or even a machine properly to resolve the issue or to satisfy whatever it was we were trying to do that day. And as a consequence, I think people are getting a little fed up. We're going to be diving into that and maybe the solution to those problems. But first of all, Jordi, what is Verbio?
Verbio is a company providing voice AI solutions. So basically, we develop solutions with the speech technologies to deploy voice virtual assistants over the phone, uh, just to enhance what contact centers are able to do to improve their customer experience, not only with human agents, but also, and I'm going to stress that also, voice virtual assistants, just to make that customer service more, to make it quicker, to make it faster, to make it more efficient, and to provide some of the benefits that just with human agents you're not just able to provide.
So, let's break it down today. And you know what, before we go further into diving into the problems, you've told me what Verbio is. How do you define voice AI? What is that exactly?
Voice AI is basically the ability of making a machine able to understand or and to communicate with a human using the voice. So voice AI is applying AI on the frequency of the voice to transcribe audio into text. Basically, a machine is not able to understand the audio. A machine is zeros and ones. So you have to feed the machine with text, not with audio. And voice AI, what basically does is transcribing that audio into text to feed the machine and to make the machine able to understand what you're saying and the other way around. So the machine, making the machine which is just delivering or just sending text, transforming that text into audio so the machine is able to basically speak. And you do all that with AI.
All right. So we're going to talk in a minute about the solution, but let's sort of break down how we got here, how everyone sort of arrived in a place where people are getting fed up. So let's start at the contact center and call center point. What are the biggest pain points facing call and contact center in telecom today in general?
Yeah, I think there are two main pain points that contact centers and telecoms and their contact centers are facing. One is an in-house problem, which is agent churn. So the problem that many companies are facing is that they are losing or they have lots of new hiring people, new human agents to be trained, to be on board. That's a really big pain. That pain grew a lot during the pandemic when many just contact centers were closed, shut down, and they were sending people back home and working from home. This has been an increasing issue. That's a challenge that contact centers are facing. And the other pain they are facing is about losing clients. Uh, there's lots of statistics that clearly explain that retaining a client is much cheaper than gaining a new one. That's there are lots of studies and that explain that it's much more profitable just retaining a client. And clients tend to just leave a company because they face customer bad experience, because they are facing really problems when they try to reach that company to sort whatever out, because when they are served, they are poorly served. Those clients, it's really easy to lose those clients. And what we don't want is having to just spend more money on gaining new clients. Where we better just focus on providing good customer service so we don't lose those clients. And those are the two main pain points that I think contact centers in telecom industry are facing today.
And when we talk about age and churn, why has that become such a problem? I mean, historically there was always a lot of turnover, but why am I hearing a lot more about it now than ever before?
I mean, hiring people is getting an issue nowadays. I mean, we know, every one of us know how difficult is finding right people, is hiring the right people. So that's an issue. But the second one is that if you want to provide a good customer service, you need to have the right people and really well trained people on your bus, basically. I mean, you're not going to provide good customer service if you don't have trained people, if you don't have happy employees on board, if those employees are leaving and being replaced by someone new every week. I mean, that's a problem. So, and that's increasing and increasing and increasing. And the amount of budget that those companies need to put in place in order to keep those new hirings happening, training those new people, onboarding those new people, it's a big issue. That's something that needs to be fixed somehow because it's draining those companies basically.
Now, I have to admit, I've never thought of AI as a solution to the problem you're describing because that seems to be a human relations problem, a human resources problem, a hiring problem. So, how can voice AI technology improve the situation you're describing?
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's true that impact, it doesn't look being so direct, but it
Right.
is. It is because basically, if you're an employee, if you're a human agent just working on a contact center, I mean, these human agents, they like everyone else doing a specific job, they would prefer doing more, for example, more complex tasks, or being trained on, or having the feeling that you are bringing some value on what you are doing as a job. When you are having human agents, for example, answering to really simple questions or really repetitive questions and tasks, I mean, that's quite exhausting for anyone doing that job. So when you are putting in place a voice AI solution where you can automate, for example, simple tasks, and you can just move those human agents into doing something much more interesting, something much more complex, where they can see that they can provide much value into what they're doing, you're helping on that. You're just making aware your staff and your team that they are completely focused on doing those tasks into the customer service, which require much more specialization, much more knowledge, interaction and engagement with the client. So you're just basically enhancing those employees into being much more valued, and just using the AI and the automation for doing those simple things that the machine can do. You don't need people doing that. So that's a way I'm helping, I think, on keeping the right people and the good team with you, and just lowering those churn agent rates.
So, how can Verbio help?
Verbio helps deploying these voice virtual assistant solutions. So one of the main things where companies and contact centers are really just hitting on a first instance is, for example, on the first answer over the phone to the client who is calling. So as a client, you're calling to a place, you're calling to the customer service, and the first thing you want to do is someone answering quickly to the phone and asking, what do you want to do, what's the point of your call, or how may I help you. This first question and this first gathering of information, it's something that we do with our voice virtual assistants. So the voice virtual assistant sits at the very front of the customer service, asking to the client, how may I help you, completely an open question, not just say one, say two, or say new contract, or say whatever balance. No, just an open question, completely sounding really natural. And once you've done that, I mean, The client has been firstly attended quickly, and then you can do further steps after that, which is okay, I need to transfer you to this specific team of agents, or give me more information. And then the voice AI just gathering all that information, that when it comes to the point on just routing that call to the specific agent, the agent already has that information, and the agent doesn't have to ask again about all that information. It's already gathered and it's already stored into the database, and the voice virtual assistant has been doing that for the human agent. So it's being attended quickly, it's being attended uh, without no waiting times, and it's just helping and doing part of the job, the repetitive job that the human agent should have been done, and it's not needed anymore because the machine is doing that for the human agent.
So what is Verbio doing that is particularly important to the telecom community?
I mean, on the telecom community, we have lots of experience on dealing with customer service in the telecom industry. We've been serving many companies over the last 20 years in different parts of the world, uh, US, Latin, Europe, Asia, like Japan, for example. So we have lots of experience on or how the customer service into a specific industry, which is the telecom industry, works. So, for example, all the user experience, the navigation, all the how those kind of customers express themselves when talking to a telecom, that's a lot of knowledge that we've been gathering and we've been collecting over the years. And we're making the deployment of these virtual assistants, voice virtual assistants, easier and quicker into that industry. And the second one for me, which is more, it's really important, is that because we have been doing that for so many years in the telecom industry, our rate of accuracy, of understanding on a first instance what the client is saying, our accuracy levels and rates are really, really high. We're talking about 90 highs. So people don't have to repeat twice what they want to do, and it's natural. And again, it's a nice customer experience.
And I also understand that you, Verbio, have made a study of the fact that in English and in other languages, of course, there's differences region to region, word to word, the way words are pronounced, even maybe the emotion of language, if I put it that way.
Yeah, that's very true. And if you don't get those nuances, I mean, it's when you don't understand what the client is saying. I mean, yeah, you have different kind of accents. Uh, in different regions of the world for the same language, you will use words differently. So, for example, I mean, I remember a case in Latin America, in Mexico. For example, in Mexico, when someone is wanting to cancel an account, it means clearing the balance of that account. It's paying the balance which is outstanding. In Europe, for example, in Spain, when you are referring to canceling an account, it means closing the account, not having that account anymore. So those language nuances are really important, and it's the same in every single language. So it's about and and in terms of accents, it's exactly the same. Uh, US English is quite different to UK English. And within the US, for example, you have lots of different people just talking in really different, the same language. So you have your models, that's what we call the language models. So those language models, and that's where AI just is in place on putting lots of hours and lots of different samples of those different accents, dialects, ways to say is the same thing in place in a single language model. So you make sure that no matter which is the accent, no matter which is that person from, I'm going to understand quickly and on a first instance what the person is saying.
And to make this less abstract, I'm imagining, the situation is never ideal when a customer is calling a contact center They've already broken through the website. They've been unable to get anything done online. They've tried the app. They've tried, maybe they've exhausted some other routes. Now they're kind of frustrated. They've walked in the door already not happy. And now what you're telling me is based on regionalism or language or whatever, there's nothing worse than not being understood. As a human being, there's just nothing worse than people not understanding what you're saying, or someone that you're very interested in not understanding what you're saying. So, are you telling me that Verbio, because of the way you guys specialize in this field, have made a kind of smart voice AI, that it's smart enough to know to adjust to the situation?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, in AI, in the AI world in general, even if you're not talking about speech, you're talking about any kind of use case or how where you deploy AI, it's about data. It's about how many data do you have available to train the AI. And there's a second part, which is really important, which is it's not only about how many data do you have, so how intelligent, smart is your AI, but it's also about customization, being able to customize that AI for the specific use case, for that specific client, to make sure that it's not a standard out of the box, it's the same for everyone AI, but it's a specific AI trained and customized for that client, for that use case. Is when you reach that point that you get those high levels of accuracy, of understanding what that client is looking to do. It's when you get that huge accumulation of data that has you have been gathering over the years and over different companies within the same vertical, the same industry, but also when you can put on top of that standard big model some customization to make sure that this is accommodated completely and fits perfectly into that use case and that client. That's where you get the sweet spot. The sweet spot is there.
So, Jordy, we're right on the cusp of a new year, and maybe with the this at least this period of the pandemic behind us, a new era, kind of almost a beginning of a new decade in a way. Um, what are you focusing on in the future? What is Verbio looking at in 2023 and beyond?
Yeah, I think we focus. I mean, we're focusing into basic, into really clear strategies. One is um, we can make that technology even smarter, but even more, let's say, natural. So one area where we're investing quite a lot of our resources and efforts is on making that technology uh, seamless as possible and sounding more natural and more human as possible. So when you have that voice virtual assistant in place, you want that virtual assistant to sound as natural as possible. It's not only about sounding natural. It's also about, for example, one of the services that are really increasing in terms of demands from the companies, from the telecoms that we are dealing with, is about brand unique voice AI voices. So when my voice virtual assistant is speaking, I don't want that voice being something that I can find also in any other company because it's like a standard. I want my unique voice. I want my voice virtual assistant to speak uniquely with a specific voice. And I want that voice completely aligned to my brand guidelines. So I have a brand. That brand looks like something specific. It's just my brand. It's my brand that looks like this. No other brand looks like this. So that brand should look like a specific person. If I just imagine that brand being a person and hence being a voice should sound this way. So that's something that we've been doing for quite a lot of years, and now it's growing and growing and growing. So sounding more natural and sounding even more unique and more aligned with that specific company. The second, the second strategy that we see the future going on and where we are going to face, where we're going to focus over the last years is about what we call the democratization of the AI. That means that we're putting lots of effort on that customization that we've been talking about, on customizing the solution, the voice virtual assistant to fit perfectly into that company and to that use case, providing tools and providing a sort of tools to the company to do that customization completely independently, self-sufficient, not depending on relying on Verbio or on any other company. So the company can be able, with the appropriate training, of course, using having those tools to make their own customization, their ongoing customization, because there's always, because that customization it's on and on and on. So, for example, when a company is introducing a new product, that's a new name. That's something new that didn't exist before. I mean, you're putting a specific name to a product, so you'll have to adapt. You'll have to customize your AI to understand that product. So, providing the tools that the company to make that company completely self-sufficient on customizing the technology. So those are I think, the two main strategies where we're seeing uh, just investing lots of resources on the following years.
Well, Jordi, I want to thank you for joining me today. This has been really interesting. I hope this is the first of many podcasts we'll be doing on on voice AI and on Verbio and on how there are technological approaches, proper technological approaches to solving really kind of a human problem and a really certainly a customer service problem, an issue in front of most of our readers and listeners. Where can we learn more about Verbio?
I mean, but Verbio.com, I mean, you can go into our website, you can subscribe to our newsletter. I think that's really useful. We publish quite lots of interesting information regularly into the newsletter and get in touch with us. Absolutely. I mean, we'll be more than welcome to have any chat with whoever have an interest on this kind of technology and providing past experiences, knowledge, and anything that may be helpful for whoever have an interest in that.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next occasion when we get together and talk about this important topic. But for now, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Doug.